What's up, bitches? Today is Wednesday, February 12th, 2014. My name's Ryan Bish, and this is Sit Down Comedy. Oh wait, no it's not. No, this is Snarky Movie Reviews, Ryan's reaction to Vampire Academy. Yeah, to make a long story short, Vampire Academy sucks. Cheap vampire joke. It really does though. And we'll get to that. Oh, we'll get to that. But before we do, I just want to make it abundantly clear that in general, I do not appreciate vampires particularly much. You may question that when you reflect on the fact that, in my opinion, the greatest TV show of all time is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But you're only going to question that if you're a moron, because as the title implies, Buffy is about a girl whose sole purpose in life is to hunt vampires down and kill them. Yeah. So, why do I hate them? Good question. Basically, drinking blood is icky. The end. So, you may be wondering why I saw the movie at all. That's another good question. Even more than I hate vampires, I love girls who kick ass. That's one of my favorite things that can happen in fiction ever. Which, by the way, is part of why I love Joss Whedon so much. And if it's done right, being a vampire can be a great way to tell a story about a girl who kicks ass. Some good examples include Jessica What's-Her-Face from True Blood and Caroline from The Vampire Diaries, until about halfway through season 3. And anyway, the trailer for Vampire Academy blew me away because even though it has vampire in the title, the emphasis did not seem to be on, some star-crossed, epic, drawn-out, life-or-death love story between an underage girl and a 200-something-year-old guy. But it was about the friendship between the two main characters, who, from the trailer, appear to be girls who kick ass. Watching the actual movie, it's kind of eh. But another thing about the trailer is that it ends with the credits, obviously, which include directed by Mark Waters and written by Daniel Waters. Now, Mark Waters, as we all know, or should all know if we pay attention to things that are relevant to me, directed Mean Girls, which is only one of my absolute favorite movies ever. And at first I thought it was just a happy coincidence that they have the same last name. It's not. They are in fact brothers. And Daniel wrote the screenplay to Heathers, which a lot of people view as sort of a spiritual predecessor to Mean Girls. So I thought it would be very interesting to see what would happen, when they teamed up to do this story. God, I'm just having all kinds of issues, you guys. I may not get through this. It's just me, or is this chair distractingly noisy? Anyway. So yeah, long story short, this movie was never really for me anyway. And if you loved the movie and you loved the books and your deepest, darkest literary wet dream is to one day meet Rochelle Mead and ask her for writing tips, it's not my job to take that away from you. You go right ahead. Yeah, agreeing to disagree is a beautiful thing. So anyway, as this movie got closer and closer, I looked more and more forward to it because I didn't think it was going to be great. I thought it was going to be one of those things where I laugh really hard at most of the scenes that are not supposed to be funny, and that's always a good time for me. This excitement was only exponentially expanded because as soon as the movie appeared in theaters, someone on Hypable, first name Jen, posted a spoiler-free review which included the following line: "It captures the spirit of Mean Girls with the bonus of action scenes and fangs." Okay, I don't know anything about Jen, although I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and guess that she's probably white. If you know Jen, I think you should get together with some other people who know Jen and organize an intervention for Jen, because Jen is clearly on crack. What? Okay, so let's get down to my thoughts on the actual movie, shall we? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Hold on 1 second, I gotta doodle this star. Okay, we're good. Okay, so I don't want to start this off on an unnecessarily negative note. So first I'm going to talk about things I did not hate in Vampire Academy. First of all, one of the supporting characters is played by Sarah Hyland, aka Haley Dunphy from Modern Family. I love her. And the role kind of, sort of, gives her a chance to stretch her acting muscles. And if acting muscles are the same as real muscles, the girl is ripped. Well done. Let's hope next time she feels like playing a dramatic role, she sets her standards a little bit higher. That's all I'm saying. Another thing I don't hate. Now that Vampire Academy is in theaters, we are that much closer to the day that the Veronica Mars movie will be in theaters. Speaking of Veronica Mars, let's talk about credit where credit is due. For those of you who don't understand that reference, Credit Where Credit is Due is the title of the second episode of Veronica Mars. Knowledge. Anyway. Lately, I have been forced to do a lot of thinking about money. Specifically how I don't have enough of it to actually be in school this quarter. So that's fun. So from a purely, capitalistic, getting rich perspective, you have to give props to Rochelle Mead because, and again, I know nothing about her other than the fact that she's white. And just from watching the movie and doing a little bit of research on the internet, because the movie made me have questions about the overall mythology of the series, it just seems to me that Rochelle Mead was a girl who grew up fascinated by creatures of the night, and she loved Harry Potter, and her favorite part of that was the boarding school aspect, and she thought it would be awesome to tell a story about magic school, but with vampires instead of wizards, because Harry Potter was taken. And, Vampire Academy has become a best-selling book series, and it's spawned a spin-off, and now it's a movie, and so, as much as I judge you as a human being, well done, Rochelle Mead. Well done. Bitch. Another thing I did not hate was the potential for a drinking game. Now, the most hazardous drinking game I have ever heard of, never played, but the worst one I've heard of works like this. You watch The Little Mermaid, and using some sort of clear liquor, not tequila, clear liquor, you take a shot every time anyone says Ariel's name, and then you have your mom call 911 because you're going to need your stomach pumped before she meets Eric. However, this movie presents the possibility of an even more dangerous drinking game, which works like this. Using beer or wine or any kind of liquor you want, although again, please not tequila, because you don't need to be killing yourself from alcohol poisoning. You just watch the movie and you take a sip or you do a shot or whatever every time something doesn't make sense. And if you can convince me to watch the movie with you, you can take a lot more sips and do a lot more shots if you imbibe every time I personally go, what the? So yeah, that's fun. Moving on. Things I did hate very much about Vampire Academy. First of all, and I knew this going in because it's a story about vampires and it is written by a white author for a primarily white audience. There are almost no people of color in this movie. Specifically, there are 2 who are allowed to speak for a combined total of less than a minute of screen time. They do not speak to each other, and they do not speak in the same scene, but, you know, all together, they're allowed to speak for less than a minute of screen time. And their entire role in the story, or roles, plural, since there's 2 of them, they are there to be manipulated by a white character, or to get shot for a white character. Alright then. So, Vampire Academy. By the way, technically the school is not called Vampire Academy, it is called Saint Vladimir's. Vladimir is an actual saint who is a vampire, and the vampires frequently go to church and talk about him a lot, and I'm not even gonna touch that one, I'm just gonna put it out there. But anyway, there are 3 different kinds of vampires in this world, and I'm gonna break them down for you with note cards, because in the actual movie, their name, you know, appears on screen, and we get a little explanation about them, so I'm gonna do the same for you. First of all, Dhampir. Shouldn't be a surprise if you've ever read anything, but Dhampir is half vampire and half human. Unless I was watching the movie in the wrong way, Dhampirs in this world don't really have any special powers. They do kick ass, but that's just because they have combat training every day, and their entire role in life is to be bodyguards to actual vampires. We'll get to them in a second, and then we'll talk about the whole bodyguard thing more later. Anyway, number 2, Strigoi. These are essentially classic vampires. You know, they've got red eyes, they've got pale skin, they've got strength, speed, blah blah blah, they're undead, they're immortal, all that. Nothing to it. Finally, we've got the good vampires, the Moroi. Hold on a second. Now, you'll notice Moroi, M-O-R-O-I. We're going to take our pen. We're going to add 2 little lines. Roy becomes moron, which is what I felt like for sitting through this movie that I paid to see using my own hard-earned money. You guys, I worked so hard to earn my money. I can't believe I wasted $10 of it on this piece of shit. Anyway, Roy annoyed me very much because okay, they are annoyed by the sun, and when I say annoyed by, I mean they grab a parasol, they put it over their shoulder, and they're good. And like, the only thing it covers, is like their face and, like this. And like the hand that's holding it isn't covered, and they can be wearing like a sundress. See what I did there? Sundress. These are the jokes. So their legs are exposed, and that's fine, but that's it. Other than that, the only vampire-y trait they have is that they drink blood. That's it. They're born the way they are. They're not made. They're not immortal. They don't have strength or speed or, traditional vampire weaknesses. None of that. One thing they do have is elemental magic. They can control water, earth, fire, or air. So essentially, they are witches who drink blood and don't care for sunshine. And if you know anything about me, you can imagine how pissed I was when I realized that this movie is about vampires who are more witchy than anything. I was pissed, okay? If I had known this going in, I never would have gone in. I would not have wasted my time. God. Let's talk about this a little bit more. Okay, so unless I did my research wrong and didn't pay attention to the movie right, it seems to me that the Moroi, the good vampires, the morons, they can each control one of the 4 elements, but until they declare one, they kind of experiment with all 4 and figure out which one they're best at. Lissa, one of our 2 main characters, who, by the way, is a vampire princess, has not declared one element yet, which has labeled her as a freak and an outcast. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I am going to tell you she has a super special power. And if you've ever read a book on neo-paganism or mysticism or the occult or anything of that nature, there was probably a chapter about the significance of the pentagram. And so, it's got the 5 points, and water, earth, fire, and air are on, these points. Lissa's power is the element that's at the top point, which isn't a real element, but whatever. Yeah. So before she figures that out, the one thing she can do that she's really good at is compulsion. And 2 things about that annoy me. When people talk about having compulsion used on them, they don't say they are being compelled. They say they are being compulsed. And, I forgot to look it up before I made this video, but I am 99.95% sure compulse is not actually a word. And even if it is, it just sounds stupid. Say compel. What is so hard about that? Another thing that's stupid, there is one character who is immune to compulsion because he is blind. Yeah, compulsion requires eye contact to work. So you know, because in real life I'm a fairy and I can do magic, I've got a little tip for you guys, just in case, you know, a mortal vampire ever tries to compulse you. Here's how you get out of it. Are you ready for this? This is super secret, super important, super real fairy magic. So, you know, the vampire is looking into your eyes and trying to bend you to his or her whims. Here's what you do to resist it. You ready? Let me take off my glasses so you can see. Okay, you go. And huzzah, you're good. Speaking of the whole magic thing, so as I said, Dompiers don't really have powers, per se. So my question is, why are they assigned to be bodyguards to the Moroi who can do magic, you know? Like, their entire purpose in life is to protect the Moroi from the Strigoi, but oh no, it's Strigoi, I don't know how to use magic. Really? Really? I think I might have had something else to say, but I can't remember anymore. God, what a waste of time. See you next time, bitches.